The teams that get bigger are the people that put the systems in place today, which allow them to scale profitably. But so many people have told themselves in their mind that they're too old to use technology. And the fact is, if you tell yourself you're too old to use technology, you are too old to use technology. You should probably get out of the industry.
We know all real estate agents want to acquire clients consistently so that they can grow their business and income for that great lifestyle. This broadcast brings you the best and top people in the industry to support that quest. This is Dave Fanale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk-TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and Align, your premier real estate solution. And here we are, a little bit different opening this week. We're just trying some new things as we move along. We always try to change stuff up. But today I'm really honored. I have this man, Brian Charlesworth, on. And if you guys have never heard of Brian before, Brian, thanks so much for being here, man. I had the privilege of meeting a lot of leaders and haven't seen you speak, and you being on today and being so nice to come on. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Dave. My pleasure.
So, Brian, you're a guy that, you didn't just spot a problem in real estate. You went out and built the solution. You're the founder and CEO of Sisu, real estate's premier workflow and analytics engine. What started as a way to help his wife's real estate team operate smarter has grown into a full-blown revolution that's transforming how teams track, manage, and scale their businesses. Brian's a visionary, a builder, and let's be real, the man has probably automated more tasks this morning than most of us have all week. Brian, welcome to the broadcast, man.
Thank you, Dave. It's great to be here.
So every week, every broadcast, I start with the same question, and it's about your journey. What is your journey? How did you get from where you were to here, whether that was last year, 3 decades ago, whatever it was? Because it's important for people to see and people to understand that we weren't just thrown into the places that we are now. Like I've got 40 some years behind me where I am standing in this room today, and you've got a couple of years behind you. And, whether we've had failures, whether we've had successes, whatever it is, it's taken a lot of time and a lot of innovation in our heads and evolution in our heads to get to where we are. So with that being said, I'd like to just tell us your story, tell us your journey, how you got to where we are today for us to be talking.
Great. Well, I'll do that. So I'm going to go back to about the time I got out of college, Dave. And I went to work for a company called MCI. So that dates me a little bit, but MCI and AT&T were the long distance companies back in the day.
I remember them.
They were the two companies that were the backbone of the internet when the internet came out. So back then, I was selling to large companies and had about 5 companies that did a couple $1 million a month, actually. So big companies. And I remember training them on how to use email and how to use the internet. Because they didn't know, like it was a brand new thing back then. So that was late 90s. So what happened was I left that business and I started a telecom company that I sold after about 1.5 years. And after I sold that, I started a company that was all around the internet. I had a vision back then, and that was back in the time Steve Jobs had this vision. I had a vision of surfing the internet with our voice, right? And so I started a company called Talk-TGIF. This is in the .com era. And we basically were in every wireless network. So you could do the stuff in the wireless networks back then if you knew it. A lot of people didn't know it, but you could do the same stuff then that you're doing now with Siri, Alexa, and Google. When you ask it for your driving directions, ask it for movie show times, ask it for the weather, whatever, you could do all that same kind of stuff. So that was my vision back then. And we were actually a little bit ahead of our time. We did end up selling that business, but we were ahead of our time because people this was adopted way before the voice was, right? So after I sold that business, I started buying franchise companies. The one closest to the real estate industry was Housemaster Home Inspections. So I grew that from 220 locations to about 430. And then we sold that. And then I sold a couple of other businesses. Spring and I got married just over 10 years ago. And after we got married and I sold those businesses, she asked me to help her build her real estate team. And I grew up with a dad who had a real estate brokerage. So I was very familiar with the real estate industry. But honestly, it wasn't a place where I saw myself living long term. So I agreed to jump in for a couple of years because I was free at the time. And it didn't take long to be in the industry, to see all the pain points in this industry, to see how, anyone who's running a good business in the industry, at least at that time, they were using 5 or 6 different software platforms. They were using some sort of intake forms like Google or Jot or Wufoo, using things like Monday.com or Trello, using spreadsheets, using all kinds of different platforms to try to do these tasks that should be done in a single platform. And because they're all in different platforms, what happens is every time you take data from a single platform and put it into another platform, it takes an admin person about 30 minutes to do that. And so if you have 5 different platforms on every transaction, 30 minutes times 5 is what, 2.5 hours? So you start adding that up for some of these larger teams that are doing 500 to 1,000 transactions a year, or even a team that's doing 100 transactions a year. You're talking about adding another employee. And we all know employees are the most expensive cost. Employees are what stop us from making money as real estate team owners. And so we built Sisu to really, streamline and automate and simplify that. And in doing so, we also build it with, the intent in mind of making sure you had all of the data at your fingertips. Because if I have my data in all these different platforms, I could never look at that as a business owner. And this was my frustration when I came into the industry. I couldn't look at that and make business decisions. I didn't have the data at my fingertips. It was on all these different platforms.
Right.
You put all your data in Sisu. We're this big data warehouse where you can filter and sort and look at your data any way you want. You can hold your agents accountable. We're the only platform in the industry where you can actually manage your sales business and manage your ops business. And so what we really do is we take these realtors who become team leaders, and they're used to selling a lot of homes, and all of a sudden they become a team leader, and now they're no longer a salesperson, they're a business owner. So what we do is help turn them into great leaders, help them manage their salespeople and manage their ops team. And it really is we basically empower people to work on their business instead of in their business. And
what's really interesting, Brian, about what you've done is you've taken, all the different systems you mentioned, Jot, Wufoo, Excel spreadsheets, all that stuff, and people are still doing the same thing right today. I mean, it was a great thing to have Jot forms or Wufoo way back, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, and we were able to use them and put them together. But people, the interesting thing is there are tools, Sisu is here, and it puts all that stuff together and takes all that extra work out. But for some reason, there's a lot of people and teams that are not willing to do that, right? They're not willing to take something like that. I know there's a lot of things going on with technology. Has that been an issue for you, where people's misconception of technology, where they don't want to get rid of all those things? They're like, it's like security blankets. Has that been a problem?
It's not the security. The security is not the problem. The problem is there are a lot of people in real estate that are kind of in the messy middle, and they're struggling financially. And when they think of paying me $500 a month versus using all these different platforms, they don't grasp that the time we save them and the way we'd help them make better decisions is going to drive their business up. So we have a lot of teams, especially smaller teams, that say, yeah, I see that I need this, but I'll get it when I get bigger. And what I've learned is they don't get bigger. The teams that get bigger are the people that put the systems in place today, which allow them to scale profitably. And that's what we do. So, there's so many teams on our platform now. Most of the top teams in the industry use Sisu, and so many of the other teams look at it and say, well, when I'm one of those teams, I'll get Sisu. And what they don't get is the chicken or the egg, right? If you get Sisu, you become a top team. That's what people need to grasp. And it's because we save you so much time. We help you focus on your business. We know help you manage your agents better, help you know what decisions you need to make, like what leads should you be running, what leads are more profitable, all the stuff you need to do to run a successful business.
Well, yeah, you just said it. I mean, this is an industry that's kind of resistant to change. And a lot of times there's a difference between two words. One is, what's cost, and the other is investment. A lot of people don't see that, Sisu, for instance, is an investment in growth. Cost is, just a simple part of a P&L, but really it shouldn't be. It should be investment in growth. It should be somewhere else rather than just an expense.
Yeah, can I share an example on that?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, please
so
do.
you guys, if you're listening to this show regularly, you heard from my wife spring a week ago. Sisu was built for spring, but we now have 8,000 teams on the platform. So like if you don't have it, you're going to be left behind. I'll tell you that. So you should definitely get Sisu. But what I wanted to share is spring about 10 years ago when I jumped into her business, she was doing maybe 120 to 150 transactions a year. She had 3 transaction coordinators. They sat in their own office and each of them had their own whiteboard up on the wall. So imagine this picture up here. Imagine that being a little bit bigger and being a whiteboard. And that whiteboard had tape lines that went down and across. And
Very
they had
familiar with those.
The name of somebody that was under contract on the left-hand side, and across the top, they had all the tasks that needed to get done to get that person from under contract to close or from listing to under contract. And it was all on a whiteboard. Okay. Again, she was doing 120 to 150 transactions a year, 3 transaction coordinators, 3 whiteboards. She now does over 700 transactions a year with 1 TC. Okay. Each of those TCs were making $60,000 to $80,000 a year. Now, if you can't comprehend that that's worth $500 a month, like there's a problem, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you just gave the reason to call you. I mean, why not? Look, there's always going to be that trepidation, but there's always going to be Brian, you know as well as I do, the 80-20 rules is a real thing. Is there a trend with technology, Sisu, et cetera, with different types of brokerages? Like, I've always said that over the last 10 years, because I was I owned a legacy brokerage, a Century 21 franchise, and I thought that it was not a place for me to grow in what I wanted to do. So here I am now doing other things with other people that are really growing, really moving strong, right? Is there a separation between type of brokerage? Is there a separation between agent type that will not use Sisu or that will use Sisu?
Well, I'll tell you who the person is that will use Sisu. So, a typical brokerage, let's just say, going way back in time, what the typical brokerage does, it's a place where you can hang your license and you can get paid. You hang your license at a brokerage in order to get paid, right? When I talk about teams, and there are a lot of teams, there are a lot of brokerages and even more so independent brokerages that run like teams. So when I say run like a team, what does that mean? It means you provide training to your agents. It means you provide leads to your agents. It means you provide software to your agents. It means you provide transaction coordination to your agents. Basically, you're doing everything so that your agents can just sell, right? Now, your typical brokerage, your brokerage of old, let's call it, they charge you, let's say, I don't know, 20%. They may have a cap of $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, whatever it is. And what happens there is they don't make enough money to provide that kind of value to their agents. And that's why teams were born. That's why teams became the popular thing, because a team owner is going to come in, they're going to take a higher split, and they're going to take a split on everything. They don't have a cap, but they're actually going to, the real value here and the real value of Sisu is with Sisu and with a team, they can guarantee that they can build you a predictable income. Now, if you think about realtors as a whole, they might sell 4 homes a year, right? I think that's the average. It might have even dropped over the last 2 years.
Those in production, yeah.
Yeah. So now, if I say build a predictable income, well, what does that mean? What that means is if you want to make $200,000 a year, I can show you exactly how to get there. I can show you if you have this many conversations a day, it's going to lead to this many appointments a day or a week, which is going to lead to this many closings, this many under contracts. And as a team owner, I can help you get there. I can help provide you the leads. I can help you work on your conversion ratios, your scripts, all this stuff. A typical brokerage does not do that.
100%. And I see it every day. I see agents that, they look, I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of agents say they want to do stuff, and when it comes to the work or changing over, look, technology has, it can really handcuff people. Not the technology, but the thought of having to change and learn something new. People have said in the years, if you want help with your computer, ask your teenage son or whatever, right? I don't agree with that, simply because I think they're really good on that thing called a mobile device, that phone thing, right? I think they're really good on that. But as far as computers, I think it's something that's not that difficult to learn. And I think what happens is that you get to a point where, you want to learn something and you start and say, oh, it's just too difficult. It's not difficult. It's just a little bit here and there. What would you say?
That you say that, Dave. Can I add to that on the,
yeah, please
the
do.
difficulty? Because that's a big part of my focus. A lot of people look at what we do and they say, wow, that's really hard. Like that's complex. And we have a lot of stuff in our platform. So I could see how people would look at it like that. But the real fact is, if you look at that versus using the 5 other software platforms we talked about before, like the spreadsheets and the intake forms and the Mondays and the Trellos and all that stuff, we're very simple. So what we do is we really simplify your business. So here's what I'll say. If you can get to the mindset of, I need 2 softwares in my business. I need a CRM for my agents to follow up in, and I need Sisu for everything else. If you can, that's simplifying, right? That's agents should live and breathe in a CRM until they set an appointment. And from that point forward, they should live in Sisu, and they should communicate with their clients in our client portal. And their clients should see a roadmap, just like you and I see when we order DoorDash. We know when it's going to be delivered, right? Those are the things. Like, if we're not treating our people that way, who are spending the most money they've ever spent on any purchase in their life to buy a house, and we're not giving them that kind of service, like, shame on us, right?
Okay, so truth be told, I've never used DoorDash. I just can't see that stuff being delivered.
All right, let me rephrase that then. Have you ever used Amazon?
Yes. Yeah, same thing.
Same thing. Do you ever get FedEx packages delivered to your door?
All the time.
Same thing, right? It's coming. It's out for delivery. It's on your doorstep.
Right. I just say that more jokingly than anything else, because it's like, I mean, I'll make it myself, or I'll go get it. I don't know. That's just me. Let's just say that's my archaic philosophy and thought process. We talked about the difficulties of people getting started and getting to use it. My history, I thought I had the best technology 20 years ago, where I had a cloud before anybody had it. My biggest problem was getting agents to join it because they thought that my technology was too difficult to use and too difficult to learn. I remember driving down the street and having an agent call me on my new cell phone saying, "Hey, Dave, can you stop by the office and fax me lead paint or something?" I said, "Well, why don't you just do it? You have the app uploaded on your phone, right?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Just go into there. It's there. Just do this, this, and this, and you'll have it." I said, "Here, just wait." So I was in my car. I parked on the side of the street. I know exactly where I was at that moment, because this is just a telltale sign of technology. And I said, "Check your email." She goes, "How did you do that?" I said, "It's the same way you can do it." But there's a fear. I think there's always been a fear, right? So working with a lot of different styles and different types of agents, as I do on a day-to-day basis, one of the interesting things I still have trouble with is that agent that's been in the business 10, 15 years, and maybe they came from a legacy brokerage, or I'm not sure what else to call them, but legacy brokerage. And you attempt to get them to say, okay, so here's the important part. We want to make sure that your schedule is sound and that you're all up to date with all the stuff that's in your CRM, whatever that CRM is. And then you have a difficulty and say, well, that's going to help me get my business grown. How do you get through that? I know we talked a little bit about it, but we've got to get through that. So how do we take that agent that is set in the ways of the older type of agent, or the experienced agent that doesn't really like a lot of technology and does it like from the seat of their pants? How do you get through to that type of agent, or don't you?
I don't think you do. I think times are changing. That agent is working their SOI. That's all they're working. Let them work their SOI, but somebody that's going to come in and use technology, they're going to get all the new leads. They're going to get all the people that raise their hand and say, I want to buy a house now. And they're going to sell more homes. I mean, I can bring a brand new agent into my wife's team, coach them for 3 months, and I can have them selling 5 homes a month. And you have agents like you're talking about, and those guys have been in the business for 20, 30 years, and they're selling maybe a home a month, So it just depends. Like, I'm not going to try to change somebody's ways. I'm going to bring somebody in and teach them the new way. And there's kind of an age gap, and I'm on the upper side of that. But the reality is I'm willing to adapt and use and leverage technology. But so many people have told themselves in their mind that they're too old to use technology. And the fact is, if you tell yourself you're too old to use technology, you are too old to use technology. You should probably get out of the industry.
So man, I really appreciate that response to the question, because it is so true that a lot of agents are getting left behind. I can even tell you, in my experience, I've had agents, many years ago doing 20, 30 deals a year and refusing to use social media, refusing to really latch on to technology. And a few years go by and they're down to half that or less than half that. And they say, Dave, can you help me, get my business back? I don't know what's happening. I said, yes. Are you willing to do this, 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 and this? And they say, yeah. And then they don't show up. So you can't, you're right. I mean,
it's happening right now, right? 2 years ago, we had 1.9 million agents in the United States. Today, there's 1.4 million. It's happening right now.
No, and I see it happening in front of me too, as we just spoke about that legacy agent. We just spoke about the old agents. Okay, so Sisu integrates transaction management, analytics, team performance tracking, all this stuff. Okay, it's kind of a holistic approach. So there are other platforms out there. How does Sisu differentiate itself, and how do you, as their founder, differentiate the process and the product from the others?
Yeah, when you say there are other platforms out there, I mean, the only thing I'll say, there are other transaction management platforms out there. And when I say transaction management, what I'm talking about is, how do you get something from contract to close, right? There's a lot of steps. Those steps we put up on the whiteboard, there's a lot of steps up there. That should be done in a software that has swim lanes, right? That should be done which is why, even though, and I'm going to say, you say legacy companies, I'm going to say legacy software. If you look at companies like Dotloop and SkySlope, those guys don't manage those steps. What they really manage, they manage compliance. They manage, I'm going to review these documents. They call themselves transaction management, but I'm going to let you review these documents. I'm going to pass them off, and then you can get paid. Okay. What I'm talking about is workflow, right? I'm talking about task management. And yes, we do the compliance management as well, because we do it all. But what I'm saying is, we have competition in that area, but we don't have competition. Like, there's nobody else that allows you to manage your sales team and manage your ops team. And like, if you look at how much time my wife spends in her real estate team business now, because she has 5 other businesses, because she's been able to do that because we've empowered her to become a great leader. But she spends maybe 15 to 30 minutes a day on her real estate business. Her team, she runs with EOS. Her team leaders, her sales leaders, her ops leaders report into her every morning for 30 minutes. She has a level 10 meeting with them once a week. And that's the time she spends on her real estate business. Her other time spent on a coaching business, or a rev share business, or a mortgage business, or a title business, right? So
yeah, so just so everybody knows, EOS is Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it is the way to run your business without question when you have a team or you want growth. So as time goes on, you're always making changes, or you're always improving. There's an evolution of Sisu. Did you see Sisu being what it is today 10 years ago?
When I started it, no, I was more focused on the sales performance side of it. So leaderboards, dashboards, goals, hitting your goals, gamification, sales contests, all that kind of stuff, which in itself is a very powerful thing. But now when you take and you add in all of the ops side of it, the back office, it's even better. The stuff that I didn't envision back then, I didn't envision a client portal. Like, it's such a valuable way. Like, people who are not using a client portal with their clients today, you're already behind the times. If I'm a consumer and I have an experience with somebody that uses our client portal in closing a home, and then I go back to somebody that doesn't use it, I'm going to be highly disappointed, and I'm never going to use this agent again.
Tell me how the client portal works.
Well, what's the biggest weakness of an agent? We all know it's communication.
Communication.
They don't communicate. If somebody is not happy with their agent, every time, I've never heard a different response. Why were you not happy with your agent? They didn't communicate with me. I didn't know what was going on. They didn't do anything. They didn't do anything for me. Well, they probably did, but they didn't communicate it, so they didn't know they were doing something for them. So what the client portal does is, as a transaction coordinator is in there checking off the tasks, showing that a sign went in the yard, showing that, and all the key dates are in there. So imagine this. You have a home inspection coming up. It lets you know your home inspection is coming up. It's on this day. And then after the home inspection, what's going to happen? Oh, well, we're probably going to have to talk about repairs or renegotiate or whatever. Set the expectations, right? Mm-hmm. Then what's after that? Oh, we have an appraisal coming up. This is all on a timeline so they can see every step of the journey. You think it's a better experience for you if you can see, oh, here we are, and these 5 steps have been completed. Here's what's up next. I mean, when I sold real estate for 2 years, I sold about 50 listings a year. And what I did is every Wednesday, I met with my people who were under contract or who I had taken a listing with. Maybe they weren't under contract yet, but I would meet with them and let them know what was going on with the process. Every Wednesday afternoon, that's how I blocked my time. And that's how I was able to sell 5 homes a month or 50 homes a year, is because I still used my mornings to prospect, right? I blocked it out a Wednesday afternoon to do that. So many people, when they get 3 or 4 people under contract, they're like, okay, I'm going to spend 100% of my effort making sure these people get closed. No, you're not. You're going to spend, an afternoon a week, and then you're going to review it with them in the client portal. Now I'm going to jump them. I'm going to have them hop in a Zoom with me. I'm going to say, here's what we did last week. Here's what we have this week. What questions do you have?
So when you're talking about, I mean, if people didn't hear you, you said you spent about 2 years in a real estate business selling 50 homes a year. That in and of itself is amazing. And the most important thing, what I heard, was your schedule and your planning of what you did on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure Sisu does that for you as well. Tell me about that and how important that is in your business, in Sisu's business, as well as the real estate agent's business.
I mean, time blocking is everything, right? Like I know for a fact if I or if another agent will have 20 conversations every day, I can get them to sell 5 homes a month. Like, that's just a fact. But the only way I can do that is if I know where their weaknesses are. So if they have 20 conversations a day and they're not setting any appointments, where can I coach them? Well, it's easy. I can coach them on their scripts and I can help them set an appointment, right? So then we go to the next step. Somebody sets an appointment and they're going on these appointments, or maybe they're setting bad appointments and they're not going on appointments. I can help them there. And then when they're going on appointments, if they're not getting people signed, okay, where's the breakdown? There's something there, right? As soon as I can coach them on that, now we're going through this journey, and all of a sudden they know how to take listings. They know how to get buyers under contract, and they're selling 5 homes a month. I mean, it's a very easy thing, but it can't happen if someone is not willing to have the 20 conversations a day. And no one's going to have 20 conversations a day if they're not measuring it.
So there's a lot of people that are watching this, that will watch this, and they're hearing you say 20 conversations a day, and they're shuddering, and they're saying, holy shit, 20 a day? Man, I'm lucky if I get 2.
How long does it take, Dave? How long does it take to have 20 conversations a day?
You just got to make the calls and commit the time, right? So
2 hours.
How long does it take? 2 hours.
2 hours. That takes 2 hours. If you make calls from 9 to 11 every morning, and this is what I tell people I coach, you make calls from 9 to 11 every morning. You can go to the golf course. I don't care what you do in the afternoon. But what you're going to do is you're going to go on an appointment that night, because that's what I'm going to teach you to do. You're going to make calls in the morning. You're going to set an appointment for that night. And imagine if every realtor was going on 4 appointments a week. Do you know how many homes they would sell? 10 a month.
Okay. A hell of a lot.
Yeah. It's
But people are
not.
going to say, well, people don't answer their phone. My circle prospecting, is it FISBOs? Is it expires? What is it? I mean, 20, that's a lot for a lot of people.
It's not a lot. I mean, let's be real. Most people who come into real estate, they think of all the lush. I could go spend my time in all these beautiful homes. They don't realize they're salespeople, right? This is a sales profession. And if you go anywhere else in the world and you want to make six figures, you're going to work 40 hours a week. Why is it realtors think they should work 15 hours a week and still make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year? Come on, just do the work and you'll make the money.
Well, Brian, I get into this business to set my own hours and make as much money as I wanted to. Obviously, the ones that are working 15 hours don't want to make any money. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Well, they think they do, but the reality is they don't. They're not comfortable with money. We all have a different thermostat, right? And,
absolutely.
And I'll tell you this, and it's true. I watch this because someone can come into Spring's team and they can sell 5 to 10 homes in their first 90 days. And guess what? All of a sudden they've made $50,000. And if that's more than they've ever made in their life, they're not going to work for a while because they're comfortable. Their thermostat has already been hit. They have enough money to pay all their bills for the year. So instead of thinking, if I invested this much money, if I invested $2,000 a month, I'd have, $5 million by the time I'm 50. They don't think that way. They think, oh, well, I've got my bills covered. That's good. I'm going to go to the golf course. I'm going to chill out. My wife's at home thinking I'm at work, but I'm just going to screw around all day. Those types of things. When really, like, if they just stay focused, and that's what Sisu helps you do, right? If you're a team leader, you can help your agent stay focused. You can help them know exactly what they need to do to build that predictable income. The key is you got to find out how much does an agent really want to make and hold them accountable to that. Don't hold them accountable. Like, I'm not going to try to get someone to sell and make $300,000 a year whose thermostat is 100,000 or 80,000.
Right.
I'm going to help them hit their thermostat because that's all. I can't do any more than that, right? And I can hold them accountable to that. And I know why they want that. But it's don't try to turn people into people they're not, right? If they were all like you as a team leader, they wouldn't be on your team, right?
Right. 10 years ago, you start helping Spring with her team and starting to help her get organized and focused and everything else, and you start building Sisu. How many times would you say, and you probably don't have an answer to this because you probably never thought of it, but how many times did you go along and say, wait a minute, it can do this. Oh, wait a minute, I got to do this. How many did you set goals or have monthly things or monthly targets that you had to reach, and then you kept changing them, you kept adding to them, like different ideas and different ahas for it? You had to, for it to get to where it is, where it can do mostly everything.
I can answer that question. The answer is every 2 weeks. We do a release every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, the product is different. It's new, it's updated. And we just launched 2 major new products that I didn't think we would be doing when I started Sisu, so.
It's having seen you speak and meeting you here, it's like, okay, I can just see the excitement of like, oh shit, we can get it to do this. And it's just like, you just keep going and the passion and the adrenaline. I mean, it's got to be like a junkie thing for you. I say that in a nice way. Please don't get me wrong.
You're absolutely right. I mean, when I started Talk-To 20 years ago, which I guess it was 25 years ago now, when I started Talk-To, my vision was to change the world. Like the way we communicate, the way we use Siri, Alexa, and Google today, that was my vision, right? I have patents on that. So now my vision is, how do I change the real estate industry? And like for decades to come, things are going to be done differently than they've been done for the last few decades, right?
Right.
It's time to take this to a new level, and it's going to get even more so with AI now, like even more. And right now, like when I started this company, I didn't know what AI was. Right now, now that's our primary focus for all of our moving forward development is AI.
What's funny is when people started talking about ChatGPT a few years ago and how, oh, it's really cool, you got to do it. And my biggest fear was that newer agents, it was just going to be another rabbit hole to go down. It was at that point. And now, you know, I am very happy to admit that it is my employee. It works for me, and it knows me. It knows what I want. I always said over the years, I had a lot of property management business where I managed a lot of properties. And the biggest thing that was important for me was for my admin, my assistant, to know how I was going to handle something, how I would react to something. And the moment I knew that, I didn't have to worry. I gave her, you know, him, her, whoever it was, the right to make decisions when I wasn't around, right? But here's the thing: very quickly, something else knows me, knows how I talk, knows how I want to present myself, and is there. How will AI affect Sisu, or how will you utilize it inside Sisu, or do you already?
Yeah, we already do. With our new product we just released, we now are, our funnel used to start with when you set an appointment, but now we're actually going back. And I mean, we pull all of the data out of a CRM, like how many conversations you've had and all your activities. And we pull in things like your lead source. So those forms that I talked about, those intake forms, those are pre-populated from your CRM. So you're not having to fill out as much as you would if you were using like a Google form. But now we're actually going back and we're actually letting you know if you give a agent a lead, how many times are they following up on that lead? And we're actually recommending, we'll nudge them to follow up on leads. We'll actually reroute the leads to a different place. But it's AI that's going in and looking at everything that's happening there and making decisions that will actually, instead of a team owner having to have somebody on staff who's going in and seeing what those agents are doing with those leads and rerouting those leads, we're doing that for you now. So we're starting to do the stuff even more so that humans would do, right? So moving forward, absolutely, as much as we can do that transaction coordinator has been doing in the past, we'll start taking those tasks that the transaction coordinator is doing off of the transaction coordinator's hands and doing them for them. In addition to that, reporting has changed. You know, we have dashboards, and dashboards are amazing, and they show you, they show you conversion ratios, they show you activities, they show you everything you need to see in a business. But if you want to look at that in a different way and just ask a question on what report to get in the near future, that's how you'll do it in Sisu. You just ask the question and get the report delivered, right? It's AI, right? What do you want to see? Just tell it.
So I promote new stuff coming out, new product announcements and stuff, but you've also talked about some new stuff. Tell me, what have you just released and what's coming out? Tell me about all the new stuff that's going on with Sisu.
Yeah, so that new product I just mentioned is called Batter, and basically it's going to basically become your leads manager if you're a team owner. And it's going to, what I really envision it doing, there's one lead source out there that has the highest conversion in this industry, and it's called Zillow Flex. And the reason it's the highest conversion right now is because Zillow actually holds you accountable to following up on their leads. Yes, that's why we're now allowing you to do that with all of your lead sources. So you can treat them all the same way you've been treating your Zillow leads, so you can get a higher conversion on your other leads without having to pay the 40%, right? Okay.
That's makes sense. A lot of stuff.
So that's one product. The other product is we have now rolled out Sisu Sign, which is an e-signature platform. The e-signature platforms that you guys are used to don't have any kind of intelligence in them. They don't have AI. They don't pre-populate your signing from your database. So I mean, our plan is, I watched our 19-year-old son, who was selling real estate for a while, and I watched him come over and try to make offers. And he'd spend 90 minutes with Spring at night writing an offer as she would try to teach him how to write an offer. And I was sitting over there thinking to myself, this should be a 5-minute thing. Like, what's going on here? So that's my goal, is to make writing an offer a 5-minute thing. We'll write it for you, right? And AI will actually listen to your calls ultimately, and it'll say, oh, this is the addendum that we just talked about, and it'll put it in place for you. And all you'll do is review it and hit send, right? So that's where this is going.
Anything else new that's coming out you're thinking about, you're working on, that people should know about?
Those are the two new products. One is Batter, one is Sisu Sign. I would say for now, those are just finishing beta right now. So If you want to learn more about those, go to sisu.co/demo that's on the screen, and you can learn more about those too.
One of the things that I've seen again when I saw you speaking today and everything, I mean, just you've got so much passion about what you're doing and everything else, and I just see so much stuff going on in your head. And I mean, and it's all about data that's out there. You've got so much data of what people need. That's the data point I think that you have that a lot people don't know and don't see. And what I mean is that you're actually seeing what people need. You're seeing it before. You're seeing these simple things. Just like, when I hear someone talk about a ChatGPT prompt, I said, shit, I never thought about that. It can help me with this. It can help me with that. And that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. So you're right. And Dave, thank you for bringing that up because it's true. So one of the things we started doing a couple of years ago, and I'll share this as well. Most people probably don't know that we do this. We have a company called Simply Mortgage. Simply was developed once again for Spring. She needed a mortgage company. She didn't want to be in the mortgage business. All she wanted to do is feed the business the leads and get a distribution check every month, right? So what we do is we go in and we do everything for you. You don't have to do anything. We just are your partner, your JV partner, and we will build everything that needs to happen on the back office and putting this mortgage company together and managing it, managing your LO, recruiting your LO, everything. All you do is show up as our partner, sending purchase deals to the mortgage company. But I bring that up because of something you just said. How do we know who to offer that to? Well, we have 8,000 teams on our platform. Probably 10% of those are large enough that they could actually start their own mortgage company. Well, we have all of that data in our platform. So we know how many purchase side agreements every one of our customers does. We actually know if they're sending those to a preferred lender every time. We know their attach rates with their preferred lenders. We know all of that stuff. To your point, we probably have more information on the real estate transaction than any company out there. Most people think the MLS has that data, but what they don't know is all of that data is in our platform before it goes in the MLS. And I guess this answers one more of your questions. Ultimately, my vision is that you will click a button in Sisu and it will post your MLS listing so that you don't even have to go into the MLS, right?
Anybody that is looking for information on Sisu, we have the demo of sisu.co/demo. So make sure that you go do that and you get that information. I got a couple more things, Brian, that I just want to bring out. Number one, we always start the broadcast with the same question. I forgot to do that earlier. So just to say that this is Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 365, 360 weeks in a row. And I asked one question to everybody. I asked it of Spring at the beginning. I'm going to ask it to you now. What does TGIF stand for?
TGIF, it stands for thank you for the great week that we just had. And I'm ready to move forward. I think most people get to Friday and all they think of is I can't wait to take time off. For me, every day is the same. Every day is the same. I'm passionate about my life. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. Yes, I want to spend time with family. And there's no separation for me in Spring from work and pleasure. So we travel. Right now, we're at our house in Arizona. Yes, I'm down here for pleasure for this holiday weekend. And what am I doing? I'm here on a call with you, right? So I can have the best of both worlds. And I think some people talk about a balance in life. There is no balance in life. You just have to be passionate about what you're doing and love every minute of it.
It's funny you say that. I do a call early on Fridays called Planning and Prep for a lot of the Align agents. And I had a conversation about one agent was saying, I have to figure out how to balance this stuff out. And I said, forget it. There's no such thing as life work balance. That's a bunch of bullshit. What it is you have to make everything work for you. If you want to call that balance, great, but it has to work for you between, your family, your business, etc. And because, do I think it's probably a little bit easier for you guys because the passion that you guys have for your business and they meld together? Yeah, it just might be. But I also know that that doesn't always matter. I tell you, you talk about, you're in your vacation home this weekend. for the holiday Memorial Day weekend. Incidentally, this is, I think, May 23rd, 2025. This is being broadcast on. I do this broadcast every week. I did 360 weeks in a row. I missed one Friday because I had food poisoning, and it's been every Friday since. I did it on a Saturday. So we talk about that. And I mentioned that I've done it on Christmas Day, and this year I'll be doing it on July 4th, right? Big holiday. Who's working on July 4th? Well, I will be, and I'll be doing this broadcast and having a lot of fun doing it. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun. I want to thank you so much for adding to the fun of my almost 7 years of doing this. And I'm really excited about, beginning a relationship with you and seeing you speak. I'll see you again. Don't know where or when, but I really do appreciate it. So I've just got two more things, Brian. And if there's anything else you want to add, please.
I just want to say congratulations to you for 365, because that's amazing. I have my own podcast, and I've got to admit, I do miss weeks, and you're inspiring to me to not miss. I just do once a week, and anyway, I'm in about 160 episodes now.
Well, I have this running argument with Byron Lazine of BAM, and he has the longest running podcast. I have the longest running live broadcast. So, I look at it that way. So just two things, man. Really important question for me every week is, how do I, Dave Fanale, help you grow your business?
How can you help me grow my business?
Yes, sir.
You just keep putting things like this out to your audience, and they'll recognize what we have as something they need. That's all I can ask for from you.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. And you know what, everybody, I don't know if it's 360 weeks, but I know that everybody that comes on his broadcast now gets a hat. So this hat's coming out to you. You can have matching hats with you and your wife. You can go for walks in them. You can take pictures of them and send them. Hey, look, Dave said this, that. Anyway, thank you so much.
Maybe we'll do some social posts with your hats.
That'd be great. Next week, we've got Fred Moskowitz coming on. He's an author, entrepreneur, and speaker. I can't wait to have Fred on. That's going to be a lot of fun. If you just stay on for a minute as we go off, Brian, that'd be great. Everybody, thank you so much. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. God bless you and your family. Cheers.